Hi, I'm Holly Koenig. I am CEO of the New York Society of Association Executives. We are a professional society for the Metro New York area where we have thousands of members in our community who are senior executives in nonprofits and professional and trade groups. We have been doing virtual programming, digital platforms for a while now since this pandemic started. And a number of our members had asked for really a toolbox, a how-to on how to work with LinkedIn. I knew that Joe Applebaum was an expert. I had met him through the Executives Association of New York. And not only that, I'm on LinkedIn a lot and I see Joe, and it's obvious that he was an expert. So I let the members know that we were going to put together a program on LinkedIn and that we were going to hopefully secure Joe Applebaum, the expert, the guru from Evyrgreen, to do the program. The presentation went, just beyond my imagination. We hadn't done this type of technology how-to program before. And typically, our association executives are talking about boring stuff like strategic planning and membership engagement. This was something that they really could use. And not only that, they had to learn and they had to teach it, go back and educate their heads of communications, their membership departments. And so Joe was incredible. He taught us all what it was like to position ourselves as an expert on LinkedIn, how to do LinkedIn. There were a lot of Q&A, and what we learned there was a lot of people that have not been on LinkedIn for some time and really needed not only a refresher course, but then he went and educated them on how to really make a place for themselves on LinkedIn. What was different about Joe's presentation was that he actually asked for the attendance list in advance. And I thought he just wanted the numbers, but no, he did something really cool. He looked them up. He went on LinkedIn and found out who was on, who was not, and really politely gave them a shout out in the program. So he was bringing up, and he shared his screen, which was great. So he was bringing up people's names, showing them online, what they, the do's and the don'ts of LinkedIn, really teaching them. This was really takeaways. This is where people were taking notes. Matter of fact, we recorded the session. And most people don't go online afterwards and look at the recording that they had already experienced live. These attendees went back and went on and recorded. We watched that. And it was obvious to me why they did that was because they really were pulling all these nuggets out of what Joe was teaching them. The level of engagement and Joe's energy, I really have not seen that before. And, as a CEO of a New York Society of Association Executives, you can imagine I bring tons of speakers to our community. Joe, I don't know how he did it, really, because without a producer, he really didn't need an MC. He didn't need a producer. He didn't need a facilitator because he did it all himself. So not only was he speaking constantly, he had visuals all ready to support himself. And then all the Q&A was in the chat feature, and he was watching that at the same time. So he was asking questions, people were answering in the chat feature, just to make sure they were listening. He would ask, one-word questions, and everybody was flying in that chat feature. Yes, no, we're with you, Joe. So it was like non-stop. And the interesting thing about this, especially now while we're all doing virtual programming, is it's really easy on Zoom to watch the participants and see how they're engaging. This was the first time that I saw the participant number not drop until it was the end. Typically you say, oh, we had 60 attendees or we had 100 attendees. I will just tell you that every one of our attendees stayed on to the bitter end. If somebody wanted to hire Joe Applebaum for their association, for their nonprofit, for their organization, even their own internal learning, for the human resource department, I would say hire Joe. Joe was an expert, not just LinkedIn. It was obvious he was a professional speaker. He knew his way around marketing and branding. He just was just a great speaker. So it's an incredible investment. You're going to get, you're going to get Joe as a marketing expert, as a LinkedIn expert, and as a professional, entertaining speaker. The next day, just to let you know, the next day I was talking to the treasurer, a partner of a major firm of our organization. And I said to him, I saw that you were on that program last night with us. Are you going to be able to do your webinar like that next week?" And he thought I meant, was he able to be as engaging as Joe, doing the same, the way Joe was doing the education, the way Joe was engaging the dentist. He said, "Holly, I cannot do what Joe Applebaum did with our group last night. So I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be more like a one-sided webinar. So just letting you know that Joe will exceed all expectations." When I used Joe Applebaum for NYSAE, I have to admit that I was a little nervous because I had not used him before. And we were talking to a really senior crowd. These are CEOs and senior executives of major associations that end up hiring themselves major speakers and programs for their organizations. I was a little nervous about it. I will tell you that in 5 minutes, that nervousness was gone. Joe engaged me so much, he engaged the audience so much that I forgot that I was the CEO of this organization and I was listening intently. That night, because this program was about LinkedIn, that night I went on LinkedIn, I examined my own engagement, and then I wrote an article for the first time in 3 years. He actually inspired me to write an article. So I would hire Joe again in a heartbeat.